When I began planning things out for these Mario Kart videos, I knew from the start that there was one game in the series I looked forward to a whole lot more than the rest. And you may just ask me, why is that? Today, my aim is to get to the bottom of that. After what might have seemed like ages for you viewers, it's time to cover the first Mario Kart that really changed things up. So first came the pixelated Super Mario Kart, and then the first real 3D one, Mario Kart 64. What could possibly come next? Dual seats! Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how this happened, but I imagine a hot summer day at Nintendo went a little something like this.
What can we do to spice things up for the Dolphin Mario Kart? Inosuke, give me an idea. How about 2 seats instead of 1?
My god, that is genius. Now get back to work.
And that is pretty much my headcanon of what led to Mario Kart Double Dash. This was, as with every other Mario Kart, one of the best-selling games on its platform, this time being the Nintendo GameCube, aka the one console I love more than any other. Check out my old retrospective on it if you haven't already. So my plan here is to divide this video into certain sections, pretty much just like the last videos in this series, so feel free to skip around a bit if you really want to, but I advise watching this in full. Besides that, remember to follow me on Twitter or join the Discord group for a better chance of interacting with me personally and have the chance to affect these videos in a more direct way. And also, please hit that like and subscribe button for more awesome videos like this. And with that, let's finally take a look at the burning question. Why is Mario Kart Double Dash so special? Personally speaking, I think Mario Kart Double Dash isn't just good because it's different. It's like Mario Kart 64 already showed that being good at the basics is more than enough to make a great game. No, I think what makes Mario Kart Double Dash better than everything else is the customization options in this game. And you might be quick to note that Mario Kart 7 and 8 both have an incredible amount of parts to use in vehicle making, which is true and all, but this is entirely different. You see, in Mario Kart Double Dash, we finally got more than the standard 8 characters from before. Now up to 20 of these colorful bastards can be controlled. And the best thing is, you can mix them up however you want. Mario and Bowser, damn right. Luigi and Toad, what the hell? Wario and Donkey Kong, makes no sense, but let's go anyway. Now, as before, characters have weight class, and whatever happens to be your heaviest weight class is whatever vehicle you will be racing in. So it can look kinda funny seeing Baby Mario and Bowser in such a huge kart. But not only do we have all of these characters in different karts, there's actually more to it than just picking a character that you think looks cool. And that is the special items for each pair of characters. And before you say anything, no, the Super Mario Kart exclusive items don't count here since you couldn't even use them yourself. It was trash, I tell ya. Trash. All of these special items are interesting in their own way, even if some are less original than others, so to say. For one, Toad and Toadette's special item is the golden mushroom. Kinda rude keeping it just for them, to be honest. And then you have the likes of Wario and Waluigi, which just got a bomb that is kinda useless in my play at least. But the majority of them are cool, like Bowser and Bowser Jr., which have a mega huge shell that I swear I see almost every race at least once. Baby Mario and Baby Luigi have this huge chain jump that pulls on them like a bullet bill in the future games. And what might just be the best one of them isn't even a specific one at all. The two hidden characters, Petey Piranha and King Boo, have a bit of a different special. They each have a chance of getting any other character special, which makes them a lot of fun to play as, given you don't know what you might get. But then again, if you're some kind of speedrunner, you might just go for Toad anyway. But all of this pretty much just scratches the surface of what's so special about this game. Because what makes a Mario Kart game, and any other game, fun is of course more than anything based on how you play it. And you're gonna need to come in closer for this one. A little more. Alright. This game is freaking nuts! Mario Kart Double Dash has a very different feel from the rest of the games. Now on the surface it might not look like much, but man, this game is chaos, even more so than Wii, but we'll get to that later. So why is this? The most obvious and frankly biggest thing is of course having two of these guys to control for one kart. Now, as you might imagine, having two of these characters with their own item slots can create quite the chaotic gameplay. And you'd be right. One of the best things about this game is mastering how and when to switch places between the characters you control, and as if that wasn't enough, if you feel brave, then playing multiplayer means that you can actually team up with two people at once in one kart. And if you're anything like me and my sister, it turns out horribly wrong, but at least we got a good laugh out of it. Having said that, even if you're playing alone or with others, the system itself is surprisingly deep, which makes the whole game a lot more fun for me to play, given I like when I gotta use this old brain of mine. And then we have the controls. On one hand, the controls fit the GameCube controller perfectly, with A for acceleration, B for brake, X and Y for items, L and R for drifting, and Z for switching characters. Bonus points for L and R given their analog triggers, which always makes for a more satisfying feel when drifting. Having said that, what about the physics? Well, it's hard to truly convey how the game feels, but sensitive and slippery come the closest for me. Now, if you've ever played a game where the slightest tilt of the control stick means your character turns in another direction extremely fast, then congrats, you've played pretty much 1/4 of Mario Kart Double Dash. It can be a real pain to try and maneuver yourself as you play this, especially for a beginner, but in defense of that, the drifting feels so incredibly good in Double Dash that it almost doesn't matter that the entire game feels like it's being played on ice. Now, to be honest, there's not many personal stories I have to share, but more like experiences that I feel like most of you can relate to. Chaining up drifts, having the blue shell chase you around, and marveling at the bright, colorful graphics all contribute to an experience that I can't quite ever forget. And honestly, I've always felt that the game that came after this had an unusually dull color palette anyway, so it only helps strengthen the identity of Double Dash. So the crazy amount of characters and combinations you can make, the special items, the physics, the controls, even the music, all of it combines into one of the most fast-paced and chaotic Mario Karts there is. And that's pretty cool in my book. Oh, and how could I forget? This is the first mainline Mario Kart that actually lets you come in 5th place and still continue. So yay, you can be bad now. But even so, for this video I decided to go ahead and beat the All Cup Tour for the first time in my life, which means playing through every single track in the whole game and basically getting 1st place every single time. And this was my reaction to doing that. Alright, just wanna include this in the video because this was a nightmare. This is me, you know, I guess beating the All-Star Cup in mirror mode. It was painful. Dude, I don't know how to. So, hope you enjoyed the rest of the video. Now, I mentioned it quickly before, but one of the absolute best feelings there is in this game is the drifting. And one of the reasons for that is that the drifting here is based upon how many times you flick the control stick back and forth rather than the actual time spent drifting. What this means is that there's a fine line of skill to master here. Skilled players can not only handle the ice-like physics, but also chain up boosts in order to get up to some very high speeds. And besides the actual function of the drifting, it just looks and feels very nice to do because of those wonderful analog L and R triggers. As mentioned a little before, I gotta give props to the music here as well. I mean, the music in these games have always been very nice and all, but man, Double Dash just knocks it out of the park here. Here, I'll even give you a few sneak peeks at some of my favorite songs. I promise it's not all nostalgia backing this up. Just a teeny tiny bit maybe. Well, whatever. It's about time I mention my general impressions of the stages in this game, because, believe it or not, I feel as if they have a distinctly different kind of design than other Mario Kart tracks. When I say the tracks feel different from other Mario Kart games, what do I mean? I mean, how many ways can you actually design a complicated circle in? Well, for one, have you noticed how freaking huge the characters are in comparison to the actual track? Now, this might be one of the things you don't immediately notice, but comparing this to basically any other Mario Kart shows just how weirdly huge you are in this game. What this ends up doing to the actual game then is making it so the tracks themselves feel a bit cramped, and this pretty much applies to any stage in the whole game. Given the massive size of the characters and I guess the smallness of the tracks, it feels like a traffic jam the second another kart is near you. And even beyond that, you gotta be really fucking precise with some of these hidden paths. Even more so than any other Mario Kart, I'd say. And why that is because the physics, as mentioned before, along with the tiny track sizes, makes it really easy to mess up even seemingly simple things like this. But look, aside from the whole tiny thing, these tracks are some of my favorites in the whole franchise. Wario Colosseum might just be my favorite one to play on, given it's kinda like one of those stunt race things you'd see on TV growing up. Or, I guess kinda like Pure on Xbox 360. No? Nobody? No, man, I can't be the only one who remembers Pure. So, if you catch my drift, pun entirely intended, Double Dash was the first time the series felt more like a stunt show kart racer than just plain old go-kart racing. And not surprisingly, this was awesome, and became the basis for how the later games were designed. I think it's cool seeing stuff like this, especially since the start of this whole stunt racing stuff could even be seen as early as in 64 in some places such as DK's Jungle Parkway. But stunt racing wasn't the only thing this game did well. No, it's that time again, time to talk about Battle Mode. Now you've heard everything about the game, how much I adore it, and how crazy it can be. But did you ever stop to think, what if we added bombs? A whole lot of them, actually. New and sadly exclusive to Double Dash, we have Bomb Bomb Blast and Shine Thief. It's what I would say until they both surprisingly returned in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So hell yeah, I was about to make this whole section all depressingly sad over how I missed these modes, but they're back! So, that said, let's still go over them, starting with Shine Thief. This mode is kinda like a survival game, but also kinda not. All players compete in order to see who can hold on to the Shine Sprite until the shared timer runs out. So essentially that means one player can hold on to the Shine Sprite for 55 seconds, and the player who holds on to it for the last 5 seconds still win. It's worth noting that if you get hit while holding on to the Shine Sprite, you immediately drop it, and the timer stops as well. And because of that, this mode very easily turns hectic, given you mostly try and escape with your life the second you get the Shine Sprite. Kinda like a massive blow-up of the classic cat and mouse game. It's great! Now, the second new game is Bomb Bomb Blast. This is chaos in its truest form. This mode revolves around, and I kid you not, bombing the ever-living hell out of your opponents for as long as it takes in order to get the necessary amount of points to win. Sounds awesome, right? Each player needs 3 solid hits on their opponents to win, but the thing is, if you get hit yourself, you lose a point. So in some cases, the battles can be kinda dragged out, depending on how skilled all the players are with bombs. But fret not, because the simple fact that you can actually stack bombs in this mode means you can create a scene straight out of a Call of Duty game or something. And for the one person who actually wonders about this, yes, the tried and true balloon battle is still here, now and forever. In general, I found the battle mode of Double Dash to be by far the best one so far in these videos. But I guess only time will tell if that statement holds up later on. And speaking of time, I think it's about time we summarize this. Mario Kart Double Dash was and still is a blast to play and watch actually. Like no joke, I actually spent a fair amount of time just watching my own footage back, wasting precious minutes cause I kinda just found it fun to see. Something about the art style, the colors, and especially the whole game's presentation just makes it so incredibly appealing. Now, is it any better than the last 2 entries? Yeah? This is an amazing little game that I urge you to try if you haven't. Even if you face issues at some point due to the physics, you'll more than likely just get used to it pretty fast. So, I guess I answered my question from the beginning, didn't I? I now know why this is the Mario Kart I was looking forward to the most. But that said, having experienced this, I feel a bit worried about what's coming up next. Alright, yeah. So join me here next time for what might just be most people's favorite, and in some cases, first Mario Kart ever. Mario Kart Wii. And yes, I'm still doing the handhelds, but a little later, okay? So stay tuned, and thanks for watching.